Ever since I made my video regarding Grand Trunk Western 5629 earlier this year, back in April, that video actually did surprisingly well, with only more than 100 views, which had me beg my question that there was another famous locomotive I want to be covering. Developed and built by Baldwin in the 1920s, 2101 originally began out as an I-10SA 280 consolidation. After World War II came to an end, the Ready and Rare wanted a more powerful and stronger locomotive to deal with freight demands, and more powerful than their 280 Mikados, and more powerful and stronger than their Santa Fe types. The railroad initially selected their 280 consolidations and had them sent back to Baldwin, and then they were rebuilt from the ground up into the famous 484 Northerns they are today. While they were primarily used in freight service, hauling all types of freight trains across the Ready system, from manifests, coal drags, mixeds, and the list just goes on from there. It wasn't until the Iron Horse Rumbles that they started using them in passenger service. The railroad selected 5 of the T1s, the 4 surviving T1s, and 2123, but that locomotive was used as a donor locomotive for the siblings until it was ceremoniously scrapped. A similar story to what happened to CSX SD80 Mac 4594. That went through a derailment in 2009 and was used as a parts donor for those other siblings until it was unceremoniously scrapped in 2014. While 2101 never exactly saw service on the Iron Horse Rumbles, it was, however, kept as a backup locomotive in case of a power surge. When the Ready and Railroad began to dieselize in the 1930s or 50s, the T1s went their own paths. Ready 2124 was cosmetically put on static display up in Steamtown, where it met up with other famous engines like Ready F Unit 903 and Union Pacific Big Boy 4012. Ready 2102 continued to see excursion service, not just in its home territory, but heck, even one time it masqueraded as a Delaware and Hudson 302 back in 1973. 2100 and 2101 had probably the more intriguing adventures in my opinion, given the fact they quickly became 2 of my favorite of the 4 T1s, with 2102 coming in a close third. 2 of the T-Hawks were eventually sold for scraps at a yard in Baltimore, Maryland, but both T1s were eventually acquired by Ross Rowan himself to use in his upcoming American Freedom Train for the bicentennial that year. He kept 2100 as a parts donor and had 2101 completely cosmetically restored in less than 30 days as American Freedom Train number 1, sporting America's iconic red, white, and blue colors, and continued to seek service in this scheme for the next 2 years, from 1975 to 1960. Wait, where have I heard that number before from? Wait! Ban that off my channel at once now! Surprisingly, the locomotive even met up with Southern Pacific 4449 and Texas Pacific 610. After its 2 years as American Freedom Train was over, the locomotive was eventually acquired by the chassis system, where it was repainted for the chassis system's iconic orange and yellow paint job to resemble that of the chassis system's scheme. The chassis system's chassis steam special, which was in honor of the Baltimore and Ohio's 150th birthday and anniversary, which, for those who don't know, Baltimore and Ohio is America's first major railroad that later became a part of the chassis system in 1962 and later acquired Western Maryland in 1967 and officially formed the chassis system in 1960. Ready 2101's career during this time was absolutely thriving. It had a chance to tour across the entire chassis network from various areas like Sandpatch, Cumberland, Harpers Ferry, and the list just goes on. Heck, the locomotive even got a chance to show off in front of Amtrak, which probably makes them jealous at this point, considering Amtrak is a railroad that tries to make better passenger service great again. But somewhere in 1979, when the locomotive was being stored in the roundhouse shed in Kentucky, the roundhouse caught fire thanks to an electrical fire from one of the lights. The entire roundhouse was completely burnt alive, burning 2101 along with it. When the fire was put out, the locomotive was completely burnt to a crisp. To make matters worse, 2101 had also experienced a derailment in Northern even before it was acquired by Ross Rollin. As a result of the amount of damage that was done, Ross Rollin traded it to the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad Museum, which in exchange, they lent him Chesapeake and Ohio 614 that continued to see service on the chassis system throughout the 1980s up until 1986. It's the same year as the Transformers movie, by the way, when chassis officially merged with Seaboard to create CSX in 1968. Though, thankfully, the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad Museum was able to restore 2101 as American Freedom Train No. 1, and since then, it has remained on static display on the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad Museum since then.
He's still out there. He'll never move again.
Of the 4 surviving T1s, 2100 and 2101 probably had some of the more intriguing adventures compared to the other 2. And before you go wondering, yes, I do plan on making a video discussing Ready 2100 at some point, when I eventually get to that point. But for now, this is me, signing off.